Hello, B people. I think I got my watch fixed. It needed a download. All right, so I had some questions of just going through the whole process. So I'm going to make 2 or 3 videos on a package and on a nucleus and how you kind of get through the year or most of the year. So this may be a little long. So things you need to do before you get your package: a stand. So I kind of set up a little stand like we generally do most all of our hives. So you got a 4x4, a 4x4. We generally do 8-footers, and there's one in the middle. So here you go. Your hive's going to be sitting on this. Now, this happens to be a 4x3, and the one in the back's a 4x4, giving us a little fall to our board. We'll probably tilt this a little more with a nice little stick here, maybe an inch, maybe 3/4. We use solid bottom boards like you've seen before. We're going to put the 3/8 side up. Now for the beginning of the year for you, chances are you got a, I'm looking for one, entrance reducer, and them are fine to use. I don't want that many, so I don't have an 8-inch one, but reduce it to this, putting that to the side we're going to start on. Now, you have a package coming. We'll just leave it at that. I'm sure there's a specific day it's coming. Hopefully you know somebody that has a frame of comb. That would be really nice. If not, it's still okay. So we're going to put our frame of comb that your buddy has bees, and then we're going to put 2 frames on each side of foundation. I love this stuff. This is Premier and double waxed. I love Acorn double waxed, either one. I like using black. So later on when we're inspecting our hives and we look down and that black is on the bottom, I can see the eggs and young larvae. That's why we use black. Now before you get your bees, wherever you got your equipment from, buy a following board. All equipment sizes are different, so buy it from wherever you bought your box. Otherwise, chances are it's not going to fit. So we're going to need a following board. Now, we're going to put that right up next to it, and then put as many frames in here as will fit. Now you're ready for your package. So, and also, when you buy your following board, buy 2, and then a nice little spacer board. So, now we have our equipment ready for our package that's coming. Here's what your package would look like, but it'd be nice wood, not this. This has been around a long time.
The driveway blowing out. The pipe's gonna turn up like that right there, it's full of water. That's why I treat like steaks. Sledgehammer, sorry.
Where we just put it in?
Yeah, it's sticking straight up, ditch is full of water, and going over the driveway.
That sucks. I mean, you might as well just pull it out.
Yeah, sledgehammer.
It ain't gonna go back down.
Yeah, I can stood on it, it go back down. I stood on it, and this engine started emptying up. I need something to hold it down.
I can. You want me to come down there? I can.
It don't matter. I'm just gonna stake it down. I'm gonna stand on it. I might just pull the four-wheeler on top of it and hold it down and stake it.
Man, all that gravel didn't hold it down.
I can't hear you.
All that gravel didn't hold it down.
No.
Well, I guess try, and if you need me, come get me. Sorry about the pause. It's snowing. It's crazy outside. All right, so let's recap here a little bit. You bought 2 following boards, and you bought like a shim for your hive. Now you're ready. So what do I do with it? So here comes your package. You're gonna pick it up. It's gonna have this little strap. That is what your queen cage is stapled to and is hanging down in there. There's a can that's sitting down in this hole. I don't have one, so we're just gonna pretend this one is it. And on top of that will be a little board stapled down. So now we got our bees, we got our hive. We'll cut you a piece of cardboard to cover up the side that we don't want our bees in. And you got your hive tool, and now we're ready to go. You're gonna pry this little board off. Hold on to it because it's got staples, right? Now there's a can in here. This is your, basically it's sugar water. So they needed something during their travels, we'll say. So that's down in here. You're gonna get your hive tool under the rim and start trying to pry it up so you can get a hold of it. Sometimes they just come right out. Sometimes they don't want to come out, and it's really hard. So if they really don't want to come out, you're going to have to break this wood. So just a little heads up. So we got our can out. What to do with it? Your second deep box, we're going to take the frames out of it, and we're going to put it on top of this one. Your other following board, you're going to put right on top of the following board that's down there already. And if you want to go ahead and put some frames in here so this thing isn't tilting, that's fine. Another piece of cardboard, that's fine. Because what we're going to do, now that we have our can out, we're going to pull this up. What you have already done is pop your bees down off of the can because they're all clustered around the can. We're going to pull this out. This is going to be stapled to it. I'm going to suggest you don't pry this off. Some people are going to say pry this off. If you pry this off and this falls down in there, right? But if you go ahead and pull this up, you can pull the queen cage right off of this strap. Now you have your queen. what you're going to do is there's the one part that has queen candy in it, which is just powdered sugar, and either they used a corn syrup or they used honey. We use honey. And then there's the side that doesn't have any queen candy. That's how they put the queen and the attendants. There's probably 3 or 4 little attendant bees in there just to help her out. So you do not pull this cork out of this end. You want to pull the cork out of the queen candy size. And if you've watched our other videos, you know that we have a diaper pin on all our, I have them on my shirts, I have them on my suits. Handy little tool. So you can just grab that little cork and pull it right out of there. If you're doing a bunch of these, now you can keep this cork somewhere, a little jar. That way at the end of you doing a few of these, you can count your corks and know, okay, I took the cork out of every one, right? This is something, there's a little information here. I want to put this back in. Well, now you can take the tip and kind of booger up the queen candy because it's probably kind of hard, and we want to entice the bees to do this. Kind of forgot to put the board back on here while we're taking care of business here. So you're going to do that. I'm going to put the cork back in here because this is a brand new cage. I'm done with this. I'm going to put it right back on my jacket. I don't know where I learned this. I saw it somewhere. Great idea. We use it for a multitude of things. You can clean out the tip of our sublimator we use for oxalic acid. It comes in handy. All right, so now I'm going to put it screened down across 2 frames so the bees can come up and feed the queen between the 2 frames. All right, so there we go. Now, I can take this off. There's going to be some bees on here, so shake them in your hive. Put this over the side that you're putting the bees in. A little tap. Don't get out of hand here. We're just trying to knock the bees down. A lot of them are going to fall. And then there's going to be some in here. And now you can tilt it this way, shake it. Tilt it this way, shake it. A little bit of this until most all the bees are out of here. You're not going to get them all out of here. So don't get ridiculous by shaking these. The bees have gone through trauma to get to your house. So all you really have to do is whatever's left in here is just put it so they can crawl out of this cage. It's not going to want to stay there. Crawl out of here and crawl right in here. Mama's in here. The bees are in here. They're going to make it. Don't worry about it. Now, I was just scooting this back so you could see what we were doing. This will be all the way forward. The bees are going to be down in here. You gave them a piece of comb, hopefully, right? Get with somebody that has bees around you. They'll sell you a frame of comb. So, I mean, I would if you live around me. So we always have extra comb. Well, we don't have extra comb, but I will hook you up if you need a frame of comb. Now you're just going to sit here and watch the bees go down on the frames. It's something they're used to. You may hear that if you spray the frames with sugar water. Hey, that works too. They'll go down because they're hungry, right? And you're just going to wait. Put your inner cover on. I don't have an 8-frame inner cover, but these are probably what you have. Put it on and just walk away. come back in an hour or two. Give them time to get down on them frames. So we're going to come back. They're down in there. There might be a few on the walls, and you can take your little brush and brush them down. Now we're going to take this away. And now we're down to the bees are down here. They'll be covering this queen cage. So it may have moved a little bit. So make sure that it's splitting a couple frames, and so they can get up and feed her. And here we go. Now, the shim you got a hold of. This is to keep them from coming over here. That's all it's for. You put this on here. Your inner cover on here. Your can, it has some little perforated holes here. They're not really big. Make sure it is sugar water and it hasn't hardened up. If it's hardened up, then we're going to use our sugar water in our mason jar. And you can put a couple little perforated holes in here. They're not very big. You don't want them too big. You don't want your sugar water running out of here. So, yep, we still got sugar water. We're going to put it over our hole in our inner cover. Hey, you bought some pollen patties. You don't have to buy a lot. Whatever the smallest packs are, 5 or so. The extra ones is put in your freezer. You're going to cut little strips off of them, little 2-inch strips. Put that in. You don't give them the whole thing. They don't need the whole thing. Just baby steps with these girls. Don't buy all these traps for hive beetles and whatever. Don't put nothing in your hive. This is all we're doing right now. Now, at least 3 days, up to 4 days, I would suggest. And on your 4th day, probably empty, right? So we're going to mix up sugar water. Basically, half of this sugar, the other half water. Shake it. Do not heat this. We don't want to heat it, because if you heat it too much, you're going to make their bellies sick. And now you got a bunch of sick bees, and we don't need a bunch of sick bees. So I know everybody's, oh, heat it up. Listen, don't heat it up. You don't need to. It will mix. I've mixed thousands of gallons. It will mix. So now we're going to take our inner cover off. From now on, you're always going to look on the bottom of your inner cover and make sure our queen is not on here. From now on, just listen to me. If there's some bees on here, your little brush. Don't shake bees till later in your beekeeping, right? So now we got that. Now, bees are going to still be on this cage, right? So what we're going to, our thing here is, we're going to see if she's still in there. There's probably some bees in there. Don't freak out. Just to see if she's in there. If she's not in there, and you've already looked at her before you did this, so you know what she looks like. If she's not in here, we're done with this. You can just shake the bees out. They'll come right out. Now all our bees are down in here. Probably ate all that pollen patty. Give them another little piece, little strips. At this point in time, you don't need this anymore. It's one of them things you don't use a lot, but it's really nice to have. So now we're going to put our inner cover back on here. There's one side taller than the other side. Your pollen patty used the taller side. Sugar water, right? We're going to put that on there. It's not going to cover your hole. So that piece of wood I told you not to throw away, you've already pulled the staples out. Just slow that down and put your, well, we'll do it this way so you see. So you're going to put your jar, and then you're going to push that there. Yeah, the bees can crawl up in there, but chances are they're not. Here we go. Now, your second box, we're going to cover this so we don't get robbers, and if it rains, it won't go down in there. And your new cover. There we go. We didn't go down in our hive. Don't go looking for the queen. It's too early. Beekeepers are their worst enemies, so don't go looking for her. All we wanted to do is make sure she was out of that cage. She is. So all's good. More sugar water, a little more protein. We're out. 7 days. At least 7 more days. You want her to lay an egg, so it's going to take her a couple of days to come in to lay because she hasn't laid any eggs for however long. So they got to feed her. Her system has to get to the point where she can lay eggs again. And then it's 3 days after that for them to hatch. So say it takes 2 days for her to come in and lay, 3 days for them to hatch. That's 5 days. That's why I'm saying 7 days. I want to see, when I go looking, I want to see a lot of young larvae hatched out. That way, those pheromones of that queen has taken over this box of bees. Because remember, the bees that were in that package were not hers. They have to accept her as a queen. So by this time, they've accepted her. Now, at that point, we're going to take our lid. We're going to set it on the ground. This is how you're going to inspect your hive from now on. You're going to take your empty box and you're going to set it on your lid a little crooked. You don't ever want to set it down in the lid because later on when there's bees in here, if you set it down and crush them, you may kill your queen. I've done it. So we're going to check on our sugar water, and maybe before the 7 days you have come out here to check on your sugar water, they probably finished it off. Give them some more. The 7 days is don't dig in your hive. So maybe in 3 days come back and make sure they don't need more. If they do, just give them more. So now we're going to go look and see what everything's about. Remember, queen, bees, no queen. Swish off your bees. And here, again, crooked on. We're just going to stack this up crooked. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. Now, here we go. Hive tool. We showed you that the straight part on the hive tool we're going to put against here, and we're going to push inwards, right? We don't want to pull outwards and start busting our box. Over here, same thing. Push these outwards. And remember, now we're going to push this between the frames. You're not just going to pop the frames apart because you'll break them. And now you got a bunch of broken frames and now you're mad. This side here, same way. Now that we've separated our frames, now we can go and pull that frame out of there. The hook is not to pry your frame out of there. You'll break your frame. Don't do this. Don't do that. So what you can do is push this down in here and catch this wood. So this is pretty solid. So get this one loose. I'm not going at this my normal way. Get this one up where you can grab it. Get this side up, and you're going to set your frame on your hive. Now I can go and grab my frame and pull it out and look and see what's going on. If they're a busy bunch of bees and this has brand new comb on it and no syrup in it, and this one has brand new comb on it with eggs, you're in good shape, especially if you have comb on the outside frame. That's a nice thing. If you do, what we want to do is add our other box. At that point, we'll move this off, and you're going to pull this frame of brood out of here because she's got this filled up. And we're going to put that right in our box, about the same position. We want it right in the middle. Couple frames on this side. And we're over top of our lid. So if bees fall off, they're going to fall in our lid, right? Couple frames on this side. Here's our second following board. We're going to put right here. And then we're going to fill this side up with frames. We're going to push this together because this had pulled comb on it and she was laying eggs out here. So we're going to push that together. We're going to give her another frame on the bottom here. Remember this, we're going to push all our hives together. We want all these frames tight, tight. Same over here, tight. Now, nice and easy and gentle. We're going to pick this up and put it right on top of this one. So now what we've done is we have brood down here and we pulled a frame of brood up here. They're going to want to move outwards and fill this up. We have basically what you would have, and I'll talk about it next, in a nucleus colony. We have 5 frames over 5 frames, just like they are in a tree, right? They're not this big yet. Back to business. Inner cover. My bad. Cover this up. Inner cover. More sugar water. Our little board. Now you need another box, right? So you can make one if somebody's handy, or just buy another one. You're going to need it. And then I have one over there, but you get the idea. The other box, put your lid back on. So from the time that girl starts laying eggs to the time the next bees are going to hatch out, you look this up, right? 21 days. So you're not going to have new bees for, we'll say, 25 days since you put this in, maybe a few days more. All depends on how fast the queen got out, how fast she started laying eggs. Now, your sugar water, man, sugar and water turns to alcohol. If they're not taking it down, it might have turned to alcohol. It's your job to test on this. These bees are going to start growing. Same thing now. We're going to go backwards, right? You check that there weren't no bees on the bottom of that. And now, what I'm going to do with my hive tool. All right, push these out a little bit. I don't push them out too much because we're standing on top of ourselves on a falling board. You're going to break that apart. You're going to break this one apart. It's probably going to be easy. They haven't turned this to propolis yet. The most important part of this is don't put your finger like this or like this or like this, because if you push down in here later, it's going to get tougher and you slip and it goes down in that hive and that finger's right here. That will seriously get your attention and it's going to really hurt, and you might blacken your fingernail. It's probably going to break your fingernail. Not a happy moment, right? Same thing. We're going to lift this up. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to lift this side up, stick it over here. I'm going to look. Is my queen on here? No. Is she over here? No. That's a good thing. Now, because you made a stand like this, I can set my frame right here and tilt it up against the hive it came out of, not the hive next to it. You may have missed your queen. And if she's on there and she wants to get back home, she can just scoot right back in her hive. Just a little thing, little note, right? Now, here we go. Pushing that frame in. Pushing in that frame there. We've separated it. At this point, you can kind of go ahead and scoot it on over, because now we want all this room, and it's not going to be an issue pulling it out. You're going to crush your queen. So here again, we're going to push this frame up, and I got it with my hand. We're going to push this frame up and set it here. If you get really good at this, you can use this to lift it out. But if you drop it, and your queen was on here, not such a good idea, because there's going to be brood on here, because you move this brood up and they're going to move outwards. That's just what they're going to do. So I'm just going to advise you to not do that until you get really good at what you're doing. So we moved it and set it on the edge. Now I can do this. I'm going to pull this out of here. I'm not going to clunk it out of here and get the bees all pissed off at me, because I don't want to work on a pissed off hive. Now I'm going to hold my frame over my hive. I'm not going to bring it out here yet because I'm not real used to holding my frame. It would be real nice if you did this, because we're facing south and we're doing this semi in the morning. The sun's about right here because it's going to go east to west, right? So now the sun's shining right down in my hive or my frame, and I can just kind of tilt it and I can see the eggs. I can see the young larvae. I can see the older larvae. I can see they're capping it. I can see the darker cappings. So there's everything I need to see, right? Egg all the way to the end. That's 21 days. There's nothing wrong with this hive at that point in time. I don't need to keep digging in here. This is what I wanted to see. And I'm going to put it right back in here. And then my other one that they're working on, right? I'm going to put it right back in here. I really don't need to go to the bottom hive because I saw everything I wanted to see up here. All's good, right? Now I want to move my cardboard and push this all the way back to where I found it. Push this back. More sugar water. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it's over here. More protein patties. We're trying to get this hive to grow. Don't get alarmed when you start seeing your population drop. You're gonna lose bees until you get new bees, and that's a brood cycle away, right? 21 days, and then I'm gonna start getting new bees. At that point, this hive's gonna start really growing, and now you're really gonna have to pay attention to the sugar water and protein. They'll start going out and collecting things, but you want to get this whole hive filled up. Now, once this is all filled up, we're going to go downstairs and see what's going on down here. This is all filled up. At that point, our goal is to remove this, push our frames over, put a new frame here. This is an 8-frame hive. I would probably just go ahead and let them have all 8 frames at that point. Same on the top box. If it was a 10-frame box, I would go ahead and block off 2 frames and let these girls grow some more. You want to keep them kind of tight. They feel more comfortable that way. So here we are with these all moved out. We're gonna, of course, we're gonna center our frames in here. We're gonna bring this one up. Same thing here. And pull the following board out. We're going to push our frames. We're going to put a new frame on the outside here. We'll push them all to one side. We'll come out here and center them. Here we go. Things are happening. I would suggest after you get pretty far into this, and say a month goes by, these girls should definitely be expanding because you got new bees. And you're going to continue to have newbies all the time. At that point in time, we're going to come back in here, same thing. Push these all to one side, break this frame apart, get this out of here, and see if they're really pulling comb or not. So let's say they're not, but this next one in, they've done a pretty good job at it, and they're just filling it with honey. Go ahead and push that out, and then check this one. It's going to be brood and pollen, and go ahead and move this one inwards, and that will entice them to start pulling on that. The same on this side, right? Just move that in. Your whole goal is to get all these frames pulled with comb and then filled up with honey. And you're feeding them, so it's just going to be sugar water honey, but it's fine. It's carbohydrates. That's all they need in the winter is carbohydrates. What we don't want is to feed these girls so much that they're filling the cells with sugar water that we want the queen to lay eggs in. So that's called backfilling the brood. You're going to keep an eye on that and just stop feeding them at that point. And then later on in August, see if they're filling up these outside frames. You don't need the whole thing filled with honey. You just need the outside 2 and a little bit in the middle frames, and you're going to see this rainbow effect. So the upper layer of that with honey, that's all they need. They need somewhere to survive without all the honey. So that might be later on, we'll talk about that. So there you go. You've made it through the season and you're ready to go into winter, and that's a whole nother subject. Treating for mites, prepping for winter. We'll talk about that later. But this will get you pretty far through the year. Hey man, keep smiling.